All right, so let's dive into cybersecurity today.
Okay.
I mean, everyone wants to make sure that their business is secure, right?
Right.
But like, who really has time to read through all that documentation, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where this deep dive comes in, I think.
Okay.
We've got this 30-point checklist from Netlogyx, and we're going to pull out the most important stuff for you.
Okay.
No jargon, just the clear insights, you know?
Well, and what I find fascinating about this checklist
Yeah.
is that it's really like a cybersecurity starter pack,
Oh,
specifically for small and medium businesses.
okay.
But the real cool part is it's not just a list of technical to-dos.
Yeah?
It lays out some really practical steps that anyone can take.
Okay, so this checklist is broken down into a few key areas.
Mm-hmm.
We've got privacy security tools, system hardening vulnerability management and assessment,
Okay.
and finally response.
Wow. That's quite a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
It really highlights how cybersecurity is such a multifaceted challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got to protect your data from every angle,
Yeah.
both from internal slip-ups and external attacks.
So let's kick things off with privacy.
Okay.
This checklist jumps right into the importance of having a strong internal privacy policy.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of businesses kind of gloss over this, right?
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
A lot of companies think, oh, we're too small to worry about that.
Yeah.
But a rock-solid privacy policy is like having a really good insurance policy.
Okay.
It protects you if things go wrong,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to things like employee data, customer information, who can access the whole 9 yards.
So it's not just about protecting your business from hackers, it's about protecting yourself legally too, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And don't forget about all those regulations like GDPR and CCPA.
Oh, yeah,
If you mishandle personal data, those fines can really sting.
for sure.
Oof.
Okay, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But just having a policy just sitting in a drawer somewhere isn't enough, is it?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure your employees actually understand it.
Right.
That's where training comes in.
I mean, what's the big deal with employee training?
Okay.
Can't you just send them a memo and call it a day?
Well, think about it like this.
Okay.
You wouldn't hand someone the keys to your company car without making sure they knew how to drive, right?
True.
Same goes for data. You're entrusting your employees with sensitive information.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to equip them with the knowledge and the skills to handle it safely.
So this checklist specifically calls out two types of training.
Yeah.
Training on the privacy policy itself,
Yeah.
and then broader security awareness training.
Right. You need both.
Okay.
Employees need to know the specifics of your policy,
Right.
but they also need a general understanding of cybersecurity best practices.
So things like recognizing phishing scams,
Exactly.
creating strong passwords,
Yep.
and reporting suspicious activity.
All of that.
Okay, this part of the checklist really caught my eye.
Okay.
It mentions phishing awareness training and suggests doing regular randomized phishing tests.
I love that.
Kind of like a fire drill for your inbox.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's brilliant because people get so used to seeing those phishing emails that they just become numb to the danger.
Right.
A randomized test is like a wake-up call,
Yeah.
helping them stay vigilant.
So we've covered privacy policies,
Yep.
employee training.
Yep.
Let's move on to the security section of the checklist.
Okay.
This is where things start to get a little more action-packed.
Definitely.
Okay.
This is where we start talking about concrete steps you can take to secure your systems
Okay.
and really protect your data.
The first thing that jumps out at me is the clean desk policy.
Yeah,
It seems kind of old school,
it does.
but I guess it still has its place in the digital age.
Right? It's more relevant than ever.
Okay.
Think about it. You could have all the fancy firewalls
Yeah.
and intrusion detection systems in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but if someone could just walk by
Yeah.
and see sensitive information on a sticky note or a whiteboard,
Right.
you're in trouble.
Yeah.
A clean desk policy helps to minimize that risk.
It's like leaving your front door wide open.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Moving on to something a bit more high-tech.
Okay.
Multi-factor authentication, or MFA.
Yes.
I hear a lot of buzz about this, but can you break it down for us?
Here, MFA is essentially an extra layer of security
Okay.
that makes it much harder for hackers to get into your accounts, even if they steal your password.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Your password is like the key to your house,
Yeah.
and MFA is like having a security guard checking your ID before they let you in.
So if someone steals your password, MFA is often the only thing standing between them and your company's bank account.
Exactly.
Or your sensitive customer data.
It might seem like a hassle to set up,
Right.
but that extra step can save you a world of pain down the road.
Okay, so MFA is definitely going on the to-do list.
Yep.
This next item caught my eye. A visitor program.
Uh-huh.
Is that really necessary?
It's all about controlling access. Imagine a stranger wandering around your office,
Right.
plugging a USB drive into a computer.
Yeah.
Not a good scenario.
No.
A visitor program with clear procedures can help protect your employees, your clients, and your data.
Okay.
It's like having a security system for your physical space.
All right, let's shift gears a bit and talk about Wi-Fi.
Okay.
The checklist highlights the importance of secure Wi-Fi.
Yes.
And it's not just about having a strong password.
You've got to think about the whole picture.
Okay.
Change those default passwords, update your firmware regularly,
Mm-hmm.
and consider setting up a separate guest network.
Okay.
It's like building a secure tunnel for your data.
And speaking of keeping your data safe while you're on the go,
Yeah.
let's talk about VPNs.
VPNs are especially important for remote workers.
Right.
Imagine you're working from a coffee shop
Yeah.
or an airport,
Hmm.
and you connect to the public Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Hackers love those public networks.
Yeah.
Because they can easily intercept your data.
So a VPN is like putting on a disguise for your data.
Exactly.
Okay.
It encrypts your internet traffic,
Mm-hmm.
making it much harder for hackers to snoop on your online activity.
Okay, we've covered privacy policies, employee training, clean desk policies, MFA, secure Wi-Fi and VPNs.
We're making progress.
We're making progress.
Cybersecurity is a marathon, not a sprint,
That's true.
but we're laying a strong foundation.
And speaking of things that are often targeted by hackers,
Yeah.
let's talk about email security. The checklist emphasizes the need for a secure email gateway.
Email is like the front door to your business,
Okay.
and you need a good security system in place.
Yeah.
A secure email gateway is like having a bouncer at the door,
Okay.
checking IDs and making sure only the right people get in.
So it's not just about filtering out spam, it's about blocking those malicious attachments and phishing emails that can really wreak havoc.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your first line of defense
Yeah.
against those sneaky phishing attacks.
Yeah.
And those nasty malware infections that can bring your whole system down.
Okay, we've tackled privacy and security.
Right.
Now let's move on to the tools section of this cybersecurity checklist.
Okay.
What kind of tools are we talking about here?
Well, this section is all about having the right equipment in your cybersecurity toolkit.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be looking at things like backup solutions, DNS filtering,
Okay.
and even something called SIEM.
SIEM.
Yeah,
Now that sounds intriguing.
it is.
But first let's talk about backup solutions.
Okay.
I know it's important to have backups,
Here.
but is there a right way to do it?
There absolutely is.
Okay.
And believe me, you don't want to learn this the hard way.
Okay.
Imagine a ransomware attack hits or your server
Yeah.
crashes.
Yeah.
If you don't have solid backups, you could lose everything.
Okay. Point taken.
Yeah.
So what's the best approach to backups?
Well, the checklist recommends the 3-2-1 strategy.
Okay.
That means having 3 copies of your data,
Mhm.
2 stored in different formats,
Great.
like on an external hard drive and in the cloud,
Right.
and 1 copy stored off-site.
Okay.
That way, if disaster strikes, you're covered.
That's a great tip.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to make sure I'm following the 3-2-1 rule.
Good.
Now, what about this DNS filtering you mentioned?
Okay.
Is it something I need to worry about?
It's a powerful tool,
Okay.
especially if you have employees who are prone to clicking on suspicious links.
Yeah. Yeah.
DNS filtering acts like a safety net,
Okay.
preventing them from reaching malicious websites.
So if an employee accidentally clicks a link in a phishing email, DNS filtering could prevent them from landing on that bogus website
You got it.
and potentially downloading malware.
Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
simple but effective way to add an extra layer of protection.
Okay, now I'm curious about this mysterious SIEM you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
What is that all about?
SOM stands for Security Information and Event Management.
Okay.
And it's like having a security guard for your network.
Okay.
It constantly monitors all the activity going on, looking for any signs of trouble.
So it's like a watchdog that barks if it sees something suspicious.
Exactly.
Okay.
It analyzes logs from all your devices and systems, looking for patterns and anomalies
Right.
that might indicate a security breach.
That sounds incredibly helpful.
It is.
But wouldn't it be overwhelming to sift through all that data?
That's the beauty of SIEM.
Okay.
It aggregates and correlates all the data, making it easier to spot those red flags that you might otherwise miss.
I can see how that would be valuable, especially in a larger organization where there's so much activity happening all the time.
Absolutely. It helps you connect the dots
Right.
and identify potential threats before they can cause real damage.
All right. We've covered backups, DNS filtering, and SIEM.
Okay.
What's next on the list of essential cybersecurity tools?
Well, this checklist also emphasizes the importance of system auditing,
Okay.
particularly for your firewalls.
That makes sense. Firewalls are like the gatekeepers to your network,
Exactly.
so you want to make sure they're doing their job properly.
Regular auditing helps you ensure that your firewall rules are up to date
Mm-hmm.
and that there aren't any gaps in your security.
So how do you go about auditing a firewall? Is it a complicated process?
It can be, but thankfully most modern firewalls come with built-in reporting tools
Okay.
that make the process much easier.
Yeah.
You can generate reports that show you what traffic is being allowed and blocked,
Right.
which can help you identify any potential issues.
That's good to know. I feel like we're starting to get a real handle on these cybersecurity tools.
Yeah.
What else is on the checklist?
The last tool we'll cover in this section is EDR,
EDR.
which stands for Endpoint Detection and Response.
Now that sounds high tech.
It is pretty high-tech.
What is that all about?
EDR solutions are like having security cameras and guards stationed on all your devices.
Okay.
Laptops, desktops, servers, you name it.
Wow.
They continuously monitor these endpoints for any signs of malicious activity and can even take action to block or contain threats in real time.
So they're not just watching for threats, they're actively fighting them off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They can isolate infected devices, quarantine suspicious files,
Mhm.
and even rollback changes made by malware.
That's amazing. It sounds like EDR is a crucial part of any comprehensive cybersecurity strategy.
It really is,
Hmm.
especially with the rise of sophisticated attacks that can bypass traditional security measures.
Right.
EDR provides that extra layer of protection you need to stay ahead of the game.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already. We've talked about privacy policies, security awareness training, clean desk policies, MFA secure Wi-Fi VPNs, email security backups, DNS filtering, SIEM system auditing, and EDR. It's a lot to take in.
It is.
Yeah.
But it highlights the fact that cybersecurity is a layered approach.
Right?
We need multiple tools and strategies working together to
Mhm.
create a strong defense.
Next up, we're going to tackle system hardening. I'm guessing that's where we get into the nuts and bolts of actually securing our systems, right?
You got it. It's all about making your systems as tough as possible to crack.
Okay.
Think of it like reinforcing the walls of your castle.
Okay.
We'll be talking about things like group policies, Active Directory, and patch management.
Okay.
Stay tuned. System hardening.
Yeah,
Sounds intense, right?
it does. What exactly does it mean to harden a system?
It's all about reducing your attack surface,
Okay.
making it harder for attackers to find
Mm.
and exploit vulnerabilities in your systems.
Yeah, okay. So like locking your doors and windows.
Exactly.
Okay.
But in the digital world.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin with something like this?
Well, the checklist kicks off with group policies and Active Directory.
Okay.
These might sound a bit technical, but they're incredibly powerful tools
Okay.
for controlling access and permissions on your network.
I've heard of Active Directory,
Yeah.
but I'm a little fuzzy on what it actually does.
Okay, imagine Active Directory as a central control panel for your entire network.
Okay.
It lets you manage users' computers,
Right.
all sorts of other resources from a single location.
So like a one-stop shop.
Exactly. And group policies are like the rule book for Active Directory.
So you can use group policies to set specific rules for different users and groups.
Exactly.
Like who can access certain files,
yes.
applications.
It's not just about restricting access, though.
Okay.
It's also about setting security standards.
Oh, okay.
You can use group policies to enforce things like password complexity requirements, screen lock timeouts,
Yeah.
and even disable USB drives if you're worried about data leakage.
So it's a way to ensure that everyone is following the same security protocols no matter what device they're using.
Precisely. And speaking of minimizing access points,
Yeah.
the checklist also emphasizes the importance of cleaning up unused programs on all your systems.
Okay.
Might seem like a small thing,
Yeah.
but it can make a big difference in your overall security posture.
I guess it's kind of like locking up your valuables.
Exactly.
Why leave something out in the open if you don't need it?
Every program you have installed,
Right.
whether it's an application or a utility,
Mm-hmm.
is a potential entry point for hackers.
Okay.
So if you're not using it, get rid of it.
All right, spring cleaning for software.
Exactly.
What's next on the system hardening agenda?
Next up, we've got patch management.
Oh.
This one is crucial, but often gets overlooked.
Yeah.
You know how software companies are always releasing updates
Mm-hmm.
and patches for their products?
Oh, yeah. I usually just click, remind me later.
I know we've all been there.
Yeah.
But those patches are often released to fix security vulnerabilities that hackers could exploit.
Okay.
If you're not keeping your software up to date,
Right.
you're essentially leaving the door wide open for them.
So those annoying update reminders are actually doing me a favor.
Think of them as your personal cybersecurity squad,
Okay.
patching up holes in your defenses before the bad guys can find them.
Yeah.
And trust me, you don't want to be the low-hanging fruit that gets picked off because you skipped a few updates.
This checklist also recommends using automated patch management software.
Yes,
That sounds like it would save a lot of time and hassle, especially for larger organizations.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Trying to manually update every single piece of software on every device is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Automated tools can scan your systems, identify missing patches,
Right.
download and install them,
Wow.
and even schedule updates for off hours so you don't disrupt your employees' workflow.
That's great. Okay, moving on to secure endpoint configurations. I'm
Got it.
guessing endpoints refers to things like laptops, desktops,
That's right.
and mobile devices.
Endpoints are often the weakest link in the security chain
Okay.
because they're more likely to be exposed to threats out in the wild.
Yeah.
Think about it. Your employees are taking those devices everywhere,
Yeah.
connecting to different networks,
Yeah.
downloading files.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hacker's playground.
So what can we do to secure those endpoints and protect our data?
The checklist recommends a multi-pronged approach, strengthening user access controls, enforcing device firewalls, and implementing secure policies.
So,
Yeah.
for example, you might require strong passwords,
Exactly.
enforce encryption for sensitive data,
Yep.
or restrict the use of removable media like USB drives.
It's a balancing act, though, right?
Right.
You want to keep things secure,
Right.
but you don't want to make it so restrictive that people can't get their work done.
Exactly. The checklist also talks about monitoring and tracking behavior in cloud apps.
Right?
That's a good reminder that security isn't just about on-premises systems anymore.
Cloud security is a whole other ballgame.
Yeah.
So many organizations now rely on cloud apps for everything,
I know.
from email and file sharing
Yeah.
to customer relationship management and financial transactions.
Right.
It's critical to be able to monitor what's happening in those apps
Okay.
to detect any unusual or suspicious activity.
So what are some red flags that we should be looking for?
Things like login attempts from unusual locations.
Yeah.
Unfamiliar devices accessing sensitive data.
Yeah.
Or sudden spikes in file downloads or data transfers.
Mm-hmm.
These could be signs of an account compromise.
Okay.
Or even a malicious insider.
So keeping a close eye on cloud app activity is definitely a must.
Absolutely. Don't let the convenience of the cloud lull you into a false sense of security.
Okay, let's talk about perimeter security. Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah.
Securing the outer boundaries of our network?
Exactly. It's your first line of defense against external threats.
Okay.
The checklist recommends implementing a variety of security measures,
Mm-hmm.
including firewalls, routers, VPNs,
Yeah.
and intrusion detection and prevention systems,
Okay.
or IDSEPS for short.
So it's like building a moat around your castle and stationing guards at every entrance.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
You want to make it as difficult as possible for attackers to get inside your network in the first place.
Yeah. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in the system hardening section. We've talked about group policies, Active Directory, cleaning up unused programs, patch management, secure endpoint configurations, monitoring cloud app behavior, and perimeter security.
I'm exhausted.
I feel like we're building a pretty solid fortress here.
We're getting there. But remember, security is a journey, not a destination.
That's true.
There's always more we can do to strengthen our defenses.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
let's move on to the next section of the checklist.
Okay.
Vulnerability management and assessment.
Vulnerability management.
Yeah,
That sounds a bit like going on a bug hunt.
it kind of is. But instead of searching for insects,
Right.
we're searching for weaknesses in our systems.
Okay.
Vulnerability management is all about proactively identifying and mitigating those weaknesses
Okay.
before attackers can exploit them.
So it's like a preemptive strike against potential security threats.
Exactly.
Right.
You're not just waiting for something bad to happen.
Right.
You're actively looking for problems and fixing them before they can be exploited.
I like that approach.
Yeah.
So how do we go about finding those vulnerabilities?
The checklist recommends a multifaceted approach,
Okay.
starting with vulnerability analysis.
Right.
This involves scanning your systems and applications for known weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of great tools out there
Yeah.
that can help automate this process.
So we're not just relying on our intuition here.
No,
We're using technology to help us pinpoint those vulnerabilities.
absolutely.
Ah,
Once you've identified potential vulnerabilities,
right.
you need to assess them.
Okay.
This means determining how severe they are,
Mm-hmm.
how likely they are to be exploited,
Right.
and what kind of damage they could cause if they were exploited.
I imagine some vulnerabilities are more critical than others, right?
Exactly.
Right.
You need to prioritize the most critical vulnerabilities
Yeah.
and focus your efforts on fixing those first.
Okay.
That's where the resolution strategy comes in.
All right.
You need a plan for addressing those vulnerabilities,
Right.
whether it's patching software, updating configurations,
Yeah.
or even implementing workarounds.
And the checklist emphasizes the need for a comprehensive vulnerability management program.
Yes.
What does that entail?
A vulnerability management program is like a roadmap
Okay.
for keeping your system secure.
Mm-hmm.
It includes regular vulnerability scanning, risk assessment,
Right.
prioritization, remediation,
Yeah.
and reporting.
Okay.
It's an ongoing process, not a one-time event.
So it's not just about finding and fixing vulnerabilities once.
Good.
It's about continuously monitoring and improving your security posture.
You got it.
Huh?
And the checklist highlights software management
Mm-hmm.
as a key component of vulnerability management.
Okay.
Remember all those patches we talked about earlier?
Mm.
Well, keeping your software up to date is one of the most effective ways to prevent vulnerabilities from being exploited in the first place.
So we're back to patch management again. It seems like everything in cybersecurity is connected.
You're absolutely right. It's all part of a holistic approach to security.
Okay, so we've covered privacy security tools, system hardening, and vulnerability management and assessment.
We have.
That brings us to the final section of the checklist response.
This section is all about being prepared for the worst-case scenario.
Okay.
No matter how strong your defenses are,
Right.
there's always a chance that something will slip through the cracks.
So it's like having an escape plan in case of a fire.
Exactly. You need to know what to do,
Okay.
who to contact, and how to contain the damage if a security incident occurs.
Right.
The checklist emphasizes the importance of having both an incident response policy
Okay.
and specific incident response procedures.
What's the difference between a policy and a procedure?
Think of the policy as the overarching strategy for incident response.
Okay.
It outlines the goals, principles, and
Yeah.
roles and responsibilities.
Mhm.
The procedures, on the other hand,
Yeah.
are the step-by-step instructions for handling specific types of incidents.
So the policy is like the playbook and the procedures are the individual plays.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
You need both to have a truly effective incident response plan.
The checklist also talks about identifying specific roles and responsibilities for incident response.
That's crucial.
Right.
You don't want to be scrambling around trying to figure out who's in charge
Yeah.
when you're in the middle of a security crisis.
Right.
You need to have those roles clearly defined ahead of time
Okay.
so that everyone knows what to do
Yeah.
and who to contact.
So you might have someone designated as the incident commander,
Exactly.
someone responsible for communication, someone handling technical remediation,
Yep.
and so on.
And the checklist points out that the responsible stakeholders and roles might change depending on the type of incident.
That makes sense. A malware infection might require a different response than a data breach, for example.
Right. A data breach might involve legal and regulatory considerations,
Okay.
while a malware infection might focus more on technical containment and remediation.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've gone through all 30 points of the Netlogyx SMB Cybersecurity Checklist,
We have.
from privacy policies to incident response procedures.
Wow.
I feel like we've built a pretty impressive security arsenal.
We have. And we've seen that cybersecurity is not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
It's a multifaceted challenge that requires a layered approach, the right tools,
Yeah.
and ongoing vigilance.
Right.
But most importantly, it requires a shift in mindset.
What do you mean by that?
We need to move away from the idea that security is just an IT problem.
Okay.
It's everyone's responsibility.
Yeah.
From the CEO to the intern.
Right.
Everyone has a role to play in protecting our data and our systems.
That's a powerful message. So what's the first step in creating that security-conscious culture?
Awareness. We need to educate our employees about the risks, the threats, and the best practices for staying safe online.
Okay.
Knowledge is power. And when it comes to cybersecurity, knowledge is our best defense.
We've covered so much in this deep dive.
We have.
From privacy policies to incident response plans.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's clear that cybersecurity has a ton of moving parts.
It absolutely does. But
Yeah.
the good news is
Yeah.
you don't have to do it all at once.
Right.
This Netlogyx checklist
Yeah.
is a great roadmap,
Okay.
but it's up to you to decide what needs your attention right now.
What stands out to you from this deep dive? What's one thing listeners should really take to heart?
For me, it's the proactive security.
Okay.
We talked about vulnerability management system hardening,
Right.
having those incident response plans ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about reacting to threats. It's about thinking ahead,
Right.
taking steps to prevent those threats from even happening.
I think that's a great takeaway. It's
Yeah.
so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day of your business,
Yeah.
But security can't be an afterthought.
You can't just set it and forget it.
Right. It needs to be part of everything you do.
Exactly. And it's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
I mean, the threats are constantly changing.
Right.
You need to stay informed and adapt.
So it's not enough to just check things off a list and call it a day.
Nope.
You need to constantly learn, evaluate, and improve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And remember,
Yeah.
you don't have to go it alone.
True.
There are so many resources out there to help industry organizations, security consultants. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
There's a whole community of security professionals who really want to help businesses stay safe.
They're passionate about it.
Yeah.
If I can leave you with one final thought,
Okay.
cybersecurity is about people too.
Okay.
Your employees are your first line of defense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you need to invest in training them, empowering them,
Okay.
create a culture of security awareness.
That's such a valuable insight. I mean, at the end of the day, it's our actions and decisions that make the biggest difference in cybersecurity.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today.
I hope so.
We've explored the key elements of this Netlogyx checklist, uncovered practical tips and actionable insights,
Yeah.
and hopefully inspired a few light bulb moments
A few
along the way.
Exactly.
And remember, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
There's so much more to learn about cybersecurity.
Almost.
If anything we talked about today sparked your interest, we encourage you to dig a little deeper.
Absolutely. And please reach out if you have any questions.
Yeah.
Or if there are specific areas you'd like us to cover in future deep dives.
Right. We're always here to help.
We are.
Until next time, stay safe.
Stay curious.
And keep learning